All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are so happy that you decided to join us for today's Zips Runners Workshop, provided to you today by Zip Assist Office, which oversees off-campus living and commuter resources here at the University of Akron. My name is Anna. I serve as the Assistant Director of Zip Assist, and in my capacity, I oversee off-campus living and commuter resources. On the screen in front of you, you can jot it down, take a picture, take a screenshot. Um, Easiest way to contact us is that email address that's listed, offcampus@uakron.edu. So as I mentioned, off-campus living and commuter resources sits in the Zip Assist office. If you're not familiar with Zip Assist, we are most notable for our Help a Zip referral system. So through our Help a Zip referral system, students, family members, faculty, staff can submit what are called Help a Zip referrals on behalf of themselves, on behalf of their peers, any Zip that they might know has a question or that they have a concern about. And so in 2020, we compiled all of our help as ifs that came in and came up with this wordle. So these would be the words that were present mostly in all of the help as ifs that came in 2020. So you're talking about thousands of help as if referrals where students had a question or students were concerned or had an issue that they were seeking an answer to. So some of the ones that pop out to me off the page right away would be COVID, certainly struggling, financial, difficult. And then as I sit here in the seat talking about off-campus living and commuter resources, the ones that pop out to me, the bottom right is commuter. We have job, we have rent, internet, um, we have childcare, emergency, isolated, and then support. So some of the things that really just stand out as what commuter students experience, we're going to talk to you a little bit today in this runners workshop about how Zip Assist can help support you in that, and also give you some information on how to prepare yourself to really experience and be prepared for what off-campus living life looks like. So as I mentioned, the off-campus living and commuter resources sits in the Zip Assist office. We're located in Simmons Hall. You can come to our front desk and ask us any questions. If you want to ask a question about off-campus living, just tell them that's what you're there for. You can send an email, like I mentioned earlier, to that email address, offcampus@uakron.edu. Our phone number is listed there for you. Our website's listed there for you with a lot of really great resources, um, from tour guide or apartment tour worksheets to off-campus living guides. We have a plethora of information there for you. And then our referral system for our Help a Zip referral system. You might be thinking, why is she telling us about a referral system for off-campus living? So in our referral system, we have the option to click other. So if you were to navigate to that website right now, our help as ifs are going to come in a number of categories: academic, personal and social, tuition and fees, emergency assistance, and then you'll have an other category. If you click that other category, you can simply fill out and ask whatever your off-campus living question may be, and that will come to our office to allow us then to outreach for your questions based on off-campus living. So it's a pretty streamlined process. We get that really quickly, and then you can also send an email to that email address if you prefer. So the student organization that supports off-campus living is the Commuter Student Organization. You can simply sign up for that in RuConnect. If you're unfamiliar with RuConnect, it is located in your My Akron app, or you can simply Google University of Akron RuConnect. That website is something along the lines of presence.io, and you can certainly um, one click, two click to join the Commuter Student Organization there. The other item on this screen to pay close attention to is the map in front of you. So you can easily navigate that by typing in maps.uakron.edu in your web browser, or you can utilize the map that is in your My Akron app. But this website really allows you to figure out what parking garages to park in, where buildings are located on campus. It's a really great tool and resource for commuters to be able to utilize to know kind of where to go and where to park. So we're going to dive right into it with some housing tips for you. So when we talk about commuter resources and we talk about living off campus, we generally have two terms that we use: off campus living and commuters. So what's the difference? Technically, if you're not living in residence life and housing here at UA, you are considered a commuter. Um, but we like to designate them into two groups considered off campus living and commuters. Off campus students would be those students who are within walking distance of UA. They live within the footprint of the city of Akron. They live within the footprint of the University of Akron, and they live within about a 15-minute radius of the university. So the drive time, if you are driving instead of walking or biking, would be 15 minutes or less. To be considered a commuter, your drive time then would be 15 minutes or more to come to Akron to have your experience as a UA student here. Uh, the next portion is for those students who have leases in their name or something in their name that they would pay, that they're paying on. So this is, information to help from that regard. This workshop can certainly help you if you are living with family and paying lease, to help you with some budgeting items, things to look for. But this portion in particular is for students who are looking to put a lease in their name. So when we talk about a leasing timeline, we really talk about, what does that look like? Um, usually the academic year starts late August and sometimes mid-August, depending. And so usually that the cheapest time to rent for off-campus living in the city of Akron is right around that middle of August time. This is for a number of different reasons that I'll explain a little bit later, but certainly student housing then usually tends to be cheapest in August. You um, Places exist, vacancies exist, availability exists in Akron pretty much any time. So if you came here in December or January for the start of the January term, there are certainly going to be options for you available here. It's just going to vary of what's available and what's not. Is the place or the place in particular that you were looking for or the area that you wanted full? It would just depend on what that availability would be at that time. But currently there is, availability for houses and apartments here in the city of Akron. Um, so understanding some different leases. So when you get into going to sign a lease, just making sure that you truly understand what you're signing, how long the length of the lease is really important with how you start to then develop your budget and understand what the costs associated with that are going to be. So there's two different kinds of leases that I outline here that our local landlords and leasing agencies utilize. One is a leasing term. So a leasing term is going to be a period of time that an agency designates that their tenants can lease throughout. So an example of that would be August 19th to July 31st. And I didn't just come up with this time. This is an actual leasing term for one of our agencies near campus. So for this leasing term, a student can lease within that time frame, August 19th to July 31st. So if they did lease August 19th, their lease would be up July 31st. If they did lease in December, that lease would still be up July 31st if they chose to go with a leasing term and if that was offered to them by the agency. So in this leasing term, and the reason why in this area, August tends to be a little bit cheaper for UA students, it is cheapest to lease during a leasing term in August. So at the beginning of that leasing term. Because if you go to lease in December, your lease then has significantly shortened for that leasing agency for you to provide them with that rent. So there's going to be a little bit more of a charge for that. And you'll certainly see that if you were to look for a lease that would be a 3-month lease or a 6-month lease or a 9-month lease, that also is going to be more than what a 12-month lease would look like. So certainly a leasing term is, can sometimes be a good option for students who might be coming in, like I said, that December, January, February, like January time, looking to then figure out what their next steps would be at the end of the summer. Or it's a great option for you if you are starting in August and knowing that you're looking to get the best value possible. So a length of time lease. So this is going to be most typically your 12-month leases. So that would be if you did come in December 2021, you then would be under a lease until December 2022. So there would, not exist a time period where that would end for before the 12 months would be up of that lease. So they can vary. Sometimes you can find a 3-month or 6-month or 9-month lease. You can request those, but again, those leases are going to incur additional fees because they are a shortened lease is what they would be considered. So make sure you know what you want, what you want to sign. If you have any plans to move outside of that 12 months, maybe looking for a leasing term might be the best fit, might be the best option for you. If you're all set and 12 months feels right to you, then that may be the best option for you if you find the unit or house that you're really looking for. So just wanted to provide you with an understanding of some different types of leases. So when it comes to budgeting and when you go to sign a lease, there are some different things that you can expect to look for. So you certainly have to come to the table with some upfront money to sign a lease. So I've provided some typical structures for you here. Um, a deposit is really something that pretty much everyone is going to request. So a deposit is um, a bulk sum of money that you put up front that if the leasing agency or the landlord determines that there were any damages that need paid for, those damages then would come out of that deposit. So a deposit, is nice for the point where if there are damages, you're not having to come up with anything additional unless those damages exceed what the amount of the deposit was. But that deposit certainly is kind of set aside to have those things considered. One thing to note for your deposit is that your deposit is usually equal to that of what your rent would be. Sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit less. It depends on the landlord, it depends on the leasing agency. But one thing to look for when you're looking at deposits in the lease is, are there any type of fees that are already coming out of that deposit? So let's say your monthly rent was $500, um, and you expect to get a $500 deposit back. There were no damages, nothing like that. But in your lease, it reads that there is a $100 cleaning fee. So the max deposit that you could expect to get back would be 400, because that $100 is already going to come out of that deposit for that cleaning fee for that leasing agency or that landlord. So just knowing that up front, so there is none of that confusion when you get your deposit back. There were no damages, nothing. Everything was clean. Everything was good. And it's $100 less, and you're not sure why, and it's there in the lease. So making sure that you understand that lease is important. So the typical structures, the first one is coming to the table with your deposit and your first month's rent. So for our example, we're going to say our rent was $500. So you would then need to come to the table with $1,000 if your deposit equaled that of what your monthly rent will be. The next structure is going to be the deposit, first month's, last month's rent. So this structure is not as typical as the first structure that we talked about, but this structure would require that you come to the table with $1,500 before you sign a lease. So what is last month's rent? Um, I know sometimes that can be confusing, but last month's rent is really the last month that you are staying there. Uh, you pay that rent upfront, so that you give your landlord or your leasing agency 30 days or more. Some places require 45 days, but typically it's 30. But you do need to look in your lease to see what it is. So let's say you've lived in this place for 10 months and you know that you're looking to go somewhere else. Afterward, you give your landlord or leasing agency a good 45-day heads up that you will not be renewing your lease at the end of your lease term. Um, so then your last month's rent is already paid. So let's say July is your last month that you're staying there, you're leaving at the end of July. Well, you already paid your last month's rent up front. Things to note with that is to make sure that whatever is designated in the lease as a time frame that you have to provide to let them know that you are not renewing, make sure you stay within that. Sometimes if that notice is not given, you would then not be able to either get the prorated amount for the last month's rent, or some other things could happen. So I just put a little note here. If you do come across a pay ahead um, leasing fee or a year in advance structure, we would just encourage that you consult someone you trust on that to see if that's the best option for you. Maybe you know a former Zip that did it used it that way. See if they had success with it, if it was right for them. But based on your individual situation, really consult with somebody that you trust to see if that would be the best option for you. So some common things to look for when you are looking for leases and before you sign that lease are what's included. Are there any utilities included? Most local rentals around here will include something. So it could be one utility, it could be two utilities, it could be furnishings, it could be all utilities and furnishings. It really just depends on the place. But truly understanding what to look for is very important here. Um, so I wanted to mention that some properties do rent by the room. So let's say there's a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment or 3 or 4 bedroom house that they are renting a room out in that space. So you would share that common space with 3 other people, 2 to 3 other people. But you then would just be paying for the room that you stay in, and then obviously the common area. Um, And in these instances, most of those places provide furniture, they provide um, some type of utilities, if not all utilities, internet and electric. So it just depends. Not all of them do that. The apartments do that more so than the houses. The houses that rent by room, still you would need to provide furnishings and those types of things. But a lot of the apartments that rent by room will have a lot of things included, a lot of utilities included, or have a minimal utility fee. So just some different things to look for as you're looking at houses. And then the area, just make sure that you tour the area, and that the distance and the access to amenities and that the area that it's in, the house or the apartment, is all right for you in your situation. So just make sure that you do that due diligence, and making certain that that is the place that you want to be. And then you can also use the off-campus living apartment tour worksheet guide. So we also have a budgeting template in there, and that's on our website that you can utilize. If you need help guiding yourself through this or have any questions, you can certainly fill out that help a zip referral and click other to meet with a one-on-one off-campus living coach to kind of help walk you through some of those things. So when we're talking about living off campus, we put together just some areas to look for, that are kind of our students stay within this area. So off campus living distance, really University Park and Middlebury. University Park's going to encompass like all of this footprint. And Middlebury is going to be right beside it. And then a commuter distance where you'd be driving that 15 minutes or longer would be those areas listed there. So just some areas that you can look for if you are looking to live off campus. So this slide is just going to give you like a brief overview of some ranges to look for. So when you're looking at apartments and the difference between apartments and houses. So when you're looking at apartments, a full apartment. So that's going to be, it's a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, potentially 3 bedroom apartment that you are renting every room and the common space in that apartment. Those are going to range from the low end is 400. Now I will say that those are not there are not as many of the 400 to 500 range apartments here. Those go very, very fast, all the way up to 2,000, with really for a full apartment common range being anywhere from 750 to 1,000, with really that middle part being around 850 a month, plus the utilities and the furnishing. So factoring all of that in. Apartments that have bedrooms in a unit, so you're just renting a unit, those range from $300 to $800 a month. But generally, those will include all of your utilities, including your internet, and they will be fully furnished. Some of those properties, however, to look for, they do have an additional utility fee that ranges between $30 to $60 a month, and some have a small parking fee as well. And those are typically a 3 to 4 bedroom structure that you'd be renting just your bedroom in that space, sharing it with 3 other people, and then sharing a common space. The way that our houses work around here are a full house, and those range from $300 a month, which again, the $300 a month are going to go very, very fast, and they're going to be few and far between, up to $3,000 a month. So again, both ends of those spectrums, there's going to be few and far between, with most of the things that get rented really in the middle of that. So right around that $400, $500, $600 a month for those houses. Generally, the houses around here do require that you pay your utilities. They may include 1 or 2 utilities, maybe water, maybe sewer, maybe trash, maybe gas, but something to look for there, and that you do need to provide furnishings as well. And something to note is a lot of the houses in this area do require a cosigner. Some apartments do as well, which is something to look out for. So if you are looking to rent a bedroom in a house, those range from 250 a month to 800 depending. A lot of those you will need to pay your utilities. Like I said, it might include 1 or 2, and then your furnishings as well. Then I just put a little note here at the bottom is to know your lease. So be sure to know if you will only be responsible for your portion, even if the other rooms are filled or if someone leaves the unit. So that is just a note for if you are renting a room in a house or renting a room in an apartment, as opposed to renting the full house or the full apartment, making certain that if you get a room in a 4 bedroom apartment but only 2 rooms are filled, are you then responsible for those additional 2 rooms that didn't get filled? Or you start out with four students to 4 rooms in an apartment, 2 people leave mid-year, are you then responsible for their portion? So making sure you understand that lease so that there are no surprises for you. So as we're looking, we're talking about budget, we're talking about money, we're talking about monthly expenses. We just wanted to let you know about some on-campus resources that exist. We have something here called our campus cupboard. So our campus cupboard has food, toiletries, hygiene products in it. Um, we have a full cupboard here in Simmons Hall that you can go through during our walk-in hours. You can schedule an appointment to go into our cupboard with one of us here in Zip Assist if you fill out a help a zip referral, or you can visit one of our grab and go locations. So our grab and go locations are very, very simple. You just walk up, fill a bag up, and walk away. Nothing else is needed. Um, or you can do what's called a Zips Care package. So if you just typed into Google, your web browser right now, University of Akron Zips Care packages, campus cupboard, it would pop up. There's a form for you to fill out. You just type in kind of what you're looking for, what you want, and then our coordinator will put that together for you, reach out to you, and let you know where you can pick up your items. Something else to help support you during your off-campus living experience is Handshake. So if you get into it and we're talking about money and we're talking about how much it costs, and you're like, hey, I kind of maybe need a job to supplement, what it is I have now to help with those expenses. Um, get on Handshake, fill out a form here on Handshake and register with them. Get a resume going, connect with our career center here. They'll help you walk through this. We have some awesome on-campus jobs here. Handshake is going to be for on-campus jobs. Certainly off-campus jobs are obviously an option, but on-campus jobs sometimes provide some flexibility to do some different things to work with your schedule. And there's that understanding that, you are a college student and you are in classes. But that's just a plug for Handshake if we're looking to make some extra money or on-campus jobs. So College Pads is a third-party affiliate that we work with. They are able to populate a lot of our local listings on their website. So if you were to navigate to our off-campus living, University of Akron off-campus living website, you're going to see a link that says College Pads. You're going to click it. It's going to say, I acknowledge that I'm leaving the Akron website to go to a third party. And it's going to then populate really the landlords and leasing agencies that register with College Pads. They're available housing in this area. So sometimes some of the other search engines won't populate some of our more student driven housing, whereas College Pads will. Um, College Pads also helps work with us on our housing fairs. So we host 2 housing fairs a year. One in the fall, we just finished here at the beginning of November, and one in the spring that's coming up here mid-February. So our housing fairs are where we invite landlords to campus. So we'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 landlords come. It just depends on who's coming for that year. This past one, we had 10. That will all be in one space for you to come and meet, see what their current rates are, see if they have availability for 2022 or the next year or now for whatever you're looking for your situation. There's all kinds of prizes, there's all kinds of giveaways. So heavily encourage you, if you missed the November fair, to look for the spring fair in the middle of February. So that is kind of what we work with College Pads. On their website, like I mentioned, they have the ability to filter through based on your budget. And they also have a roommate finder. But I will say that roommate finder is public. So just be careful if you did want to utilize that. Be careful what kind of information you put on there. So Zip Assist can, talk you through some roommate relationships, but here are some suggestions that we kind of came up with to look for as you're looking to develop some roommates. So really, when you're looking to find a compatible roommate, look in classes, student organizations. If you're going to use that College Pads website, you can look there. We also have an off-campus living Facebook page that you can join if you're fully active in classes. And then once you find your roommates and you feel like you're in a good space, we highly recommend that you create a roommate agreement. We can help you with that. We have some templates to help you work through, but certainly, coming up with the things that work for you that would help keep you happy in your living space. I mean, obviously, it makes you think of Sheldon and Leonard, The Big Bang Theory. It doesn't need to be that thorough, but you certainly can just come up with a roommate agreement that you both, or all three or all four want to work with, so that you can continue to be happy in your living space. We really encourage that you have real talk discussions on before and during the roommates being roommates, of what your sleeping habits are. What's your idea, of sharing? you go out and buy groceries, are they just for you, or are you happy for other people to indulge in that? Or would you want a little money for that, just depending. But really being able to have those discussions on what your housekeeping habits are, and what your social habits are. And so establishing a comfortable line of communication and really a process of how to communicate when frustrations arise prior to moving in is going to be really helpful for roommates to remain happy and to stay happy in their living situation. Making sure that you're open to having that line of communication and that line of communication for feedback, and making sure that you're respecting everybody's space and everybody's, ability to stay happy in their living space is essential. So if it is necessary, if that line of communication is not working, there's a breakdown there, and we would encourage that you find a central person to help mediate that conversation. Sometimes you can ask your leasing agencies to help with this. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. It just really depends. But if there are some unreconcilable situations where it's just not going to work out, the best thing to do is to separate being roommates. Some agencies will allow students to move from a room to a room, but there usually are additional fees associated with that. So understanding kind of some really cool like Akron things that exist, Akron 311, the number's there for you, or you can submit an online non-emergency request to the city. So if you need additional lighting, or there's some additional trash that needs picked up, maybe the lot across from you is overgrown with grass, you can submit those there. Drive Akron is a really cool resource for you to stay up to date on construction around the city. So if you do have a commute, you're able to really navigate how to get to campus the best way possible. If you're leaving at 7:55 for that 8 a.m. class and you're driving right through construction, probably going to be late. So understanding kind of which ways to take, which ways to go. Keep Akron Beautiful is a really wonderful organization that is really centered around beautification and environmental management for the city of Akron. You'll see signs outside of houses for places that really truly focus on keeping Akron beautiful, planting flowers, doing all kinds of things to make Akron beautiful. Lock 3 Live is going to be on the City of Akron's website, that you can explore their events online and kind of see if anything is of interest to you. And then visit akron-summit.org. You can explore all kinds of restaurants in not just the city of Akron, but Summit County, and things to do. So they're going to have up to date really of what's going on in Summit County, what events are really surrounding you. And then some just really good numbers focusing and transitioning onto safety are Akron Police Department. That's their number. We would heavily encourage you, if you don't have them in your phone right now, to go ahead and put them in your phone and save them as Akron Police or something along those lines. Um, Akron Police Department is, so that A is one of the first things in your contacts. We also have a campus escort service, and that number is provided there for you as well. Then we also have something called Z Alerts. So if you are interested in receiving Z Alerts, so information management system, you could simply go to uakron.edu/Z Alert. Still focusing on safety, just some things to look for before you sign your lease or during the term of your lease. If any of these things have a breakdown, making sure that you submit a maintenance request as soon as possible. So make sure you look for proper locks and deadbolts. So you should have a handle on every exterior door that also has a deadbolt. Check for adequate exterior lighting. So making sure wherever you park, there's lighting, your car's lit up. You can see your car from the house if you need. Browse, local crime maps, safety reports, and then ask your leasing agencies about maintenance requests. How long does it take typically for a maintenance request to be satisfied? Ask about fire extinguishers, emergency exits. Make sure you certainly understand, if there would be an emergency situation that arose, that you know what to do. Check for that exterior door locking again, and see if any other UA students live on the same road. Talk to them, engage in conversations. If there are UA students that used to live in the property that you're looking at, make sure you engage in conversations with them to see, if there are any questions that you might have. So make sure sliding doors, so like a patio door, make sure they have an extra piece in the back. It's usually just like a wood piece to block that door, where you're just not relying on the lock. There's an actual stopper behind it where that door would be securely fastened. Make sure all windows lock. So every single window and all window air conditioning units are fastened properly to the structure. So if a window air conditioning unit is not fastened properly to a structure, they sometimes, pose a safety threat in terms of being able to move about or fall out or water comes into the home. So make sure that those are fastened properly to the structure. And then make sure that you overview and clearly understand your renter's insurance policy that you get prior to renting. And then we just want to let you know about some really awesome community resources that exist for you. We have all kinds of resources in Zip Assist. So if you have any questions about that, please uakron.edu/referral. Fill that out. We're happy to answer all of your questions. But Neighborhood Network is sponsored through the Habitat for Humanity. They work specifically in enhancing the University Park area here at the University of Akron. And Marissa and Megan are awesome. They're both UA alum. And they really have a heart to keep working and making their community better. Fair Housing is a website you can go to fairhousingakron.org. You can go to that and then /contact us, and they're going to have their like a tenant landlord counseling hours. So if you did have like any issues that you needed to talk through, they're available there. The Salvation Army, we do have a licensed social worker through the Salvation Army that works in our office. They do all kinds of food pop-up events and all kinds of things to support you in your experience here. The United Way partners with us in a real way with financial wellness. So in Zip Assist in Simmons Hall lobby, we have our one-on-one financial coach who works with students for free. So if you're interested in scheduling with her, fill out that referral form or send us an email at offcampus@uakron.edu. If you're interested in community resources, please, if you do send us an email or fill out a Help-a-Zip, ask for the street card. We can simply send you a document of the street card with all kinds of community resources that exist, from furniture to dental to medical to other food pantries to a bunch of different things. And then we also have some resources on landlord-tenant resources that talk about deposits and if you are in the eviction process and those types of things, and understanding what your rights are and what your responsibilities are as a renter as well. So we can certainly send you that if you need. Um, so if you have any other questions, you can feel free to either fill out that referral form, click the other box, ask your question in our referral, or simply email it to offcampus@uakron.edu. Thank you all for joining today. My name's Anna. I work in the Zip Assist office, and happy off-campus living to everyone.